It's 11 a.m. here in Seoul. I'm Oh Soo-young at the Arirang News Center. We're breaking into our regular programming to bring you a live briefing from the South Korean health authorities on the coronavirus outbreak here in the nation. In just a few moments, we'll cut into the briefing room at the Sejong Government Complex with simultaneous interpretation available in English. So right now, we're going to go into the briefing room where Yoon Tae-ho, Director General of Public Health Policy, will be sharing the latest figures and updates with us on the COVID-19 situation here in Korea. So he will be telling us about the latest number of infection cases as well as the number of deaths that have occurred within a day here in Korea. So we're going to switch over into the briefing room right now where Yoon Tae-ho is right now walking towards the podium. It looks like the briefing is going to start very soon.
We have Mr. Yoon Tae-ho with the briefing on the COVID-19 response. Let us now begin our regular briefing for June 1st, Monday. As of today, midnight, we have 35 new cases. 30 of them were local transmissions, while 5 were imported cases from overseas. And the total number of confirmed cases now stands at 11,503. And this includes 10,422 who have been discharged, while 810 people are in quarantine undergoing treatment. The death toll stands at 271, and unfortunately we had one more fatality as of yesterday. I extend my deepest condolences to the deceased and the members of the bereaved family. This morning, KCDC held a meeting presided over by Health Minister Bang Neung-hoo, and we discussed measures for quarantine in the metropolitan area and the quarantine measures for beaches ahead of their opening nationwide. And Health Minister Bang Neung-hoo has said that we need to unveil our efforts to carry out live quarantine measures. And he also extended a message to all of the public in all their corners to carry out quarantine measures going forward. And as for the new confirmed cases in the metropolitan area is as follows. As of now, we have 112 people confirmed as for the logistics center in the Bucheon of Gyeonggi, Bucheon City. And we also are going to carry out our testing for all of the workers, and we believe that we will have an increase in the number of confirmed cases going forward. And in many multi-use facilities, including places of worship and private academies, we are seeing increase of the cluster infection here in the metropolitan area. And we are conducting a wide range of epidemiological investigation. However, there are silent spreaders throughout the community. When looking at the past 2 weeks, we have seen an increase in the cluster infection, and the average number of confirmed cases on a daily basis was 28.9, and the rate of unidentified cases of sources of infection amount to 7.3%. And however, up until now, our level of quarantine is at the controllable stage by the quarantine authorities. Therefore, we continue to carry out live quarantine measures. However, we still witness continuous sporadic outbreak here in the metropolitan area. Therefore, the situation here calls for our severe measures. And we have learned 2 implications from the metropolitan cluster infections. First, out of the multi-use facilities frequented by many people, the logistics center as well as the private academies where there were no good abidement of the quarantine measures, we saw an increase of the outbreak. However, at the multi-use facilities like the religious groups, we have seen a decrease in the outbreak. However, we saw an increase of the outbreak among small groups of religious centers. And likewise, we have said that these small groups engage mass gatherings of people and dining together, and they could be prone to a high risk of droplet infection. And if we fail to curb the metropolitan area's cluster infection during the next 2 weeks, we believe this could put many areas of our life at risk. So we ask the members of the public living in the metropolitan area to refrain from going to multi-use facilities like dining outside and other gatherings. Above all, at the religious centers, we also advise you to refrain from having physical small gatherings. And if you have to gather together, please refrain from eating together and also refrain from other activities that increase the risk of droplet infection. And please wear your face mask and keep distancing. So these are our messages that we would like to highlight today. And starting from 6 p.m. tomorrow, we will have for the 8 multi-use facilities, we will also recommend the suspension of operations. And if they operate, they need to also strictly abide by the quarantine measures. And all of these facilities need to require all of the visitors to register their entry by electronically, and they will be run from today on a pilot run at 19 facilities in Seoul and Incheon and Daejeon. And they will be expanded to nationwide starting next Wednesday, and we will be having swift quarantine measures on top of the protection of privacy. And we also ask all of the establishments to carry out regular disinfection and ventilation, while all of the visitors need to wear their face masks. And if they fail to abide by such quarantine measures, the establishments and the visitors will be fined up to 300 million Korean won, and they would be also be prone to close down their businesses. And yesterday, each of the municipalities have carried out a widespread inspection for about 10,000 of the multi-use facilities, including 77 wedding halls and over 1,000 dining facilities, and they carried out 133 administrative orders. And also we carried out a widespread and inspection by the 59 multi-use facilities in the metropolitan area. And we will also continue to carry out our nightlife establishments the crackdown and the inspection for these places, and we will have a pan-government efforts to carry out a wide range of inspections, and we have identified over 80 facilities that breach these quarantine measures. And next is the quarantine measures for the beaches ahead of their opening for summer. Starting from today, we will be open the Haeundae Beach and the Malipo Beach also, and about 250 beaches nationwide will be opening in a phase throughout June. And the government has rolled out and announced detailed guidelines for these beaches. First of all, as for the mid and large-sized beaches, we advise the public to utilize these beaches, and we ask the large group cluster visits to avoid. And also, if you would like to visit these mid to large size beaches, we also have the number of visitors to be disclosed to the public throughout our webpage as well. And we advise all of the parasols to be installed with over 2 meters of distance. And when aside from playing inside the water, we ask you to also wear your face masks at all times and refrain from spitting at all times, and also keep distancing when you also bathe. And we also advise all of the establishments to ventilate and disinfect all of the facilities and equipments on a regular basis. And the government will also educate all of the workers who are working at the beaches to be trained of quarantine measures. And we will continue carry out our inspections for these beaches. And in mid-June, we will have a wide crackdown on these beaches so that they comply strictly to the quarantine measures. And we will also have a flexible operation of the beaches going forward. And we ask the members of the public to also be disciplined with these guidelines going forward. And please enjoy your safe holidays. And starting from today, we have the resumption of daycare centers. However, these openings are in discretion by the different local governments. And in some of the metropolitan area, they also suspended the opening of these daycare center due to a continued cluster infection. And we also carried out an inspection for these daycare centers. And in order to avoid infection, we advise all of the daycare centers to have individual play time rather than group play time. And please abide by quarantine measures strictly. If there is a suspicious symptoms, we also advise all of the students and faculty members to go home, and the quarantine measures will also be taken in place immediately. And we will make sure that we carry out our training and education and quarantine measures so that we can ensure a safe environment for our students and teenagers. Also, we have the third stage of opening of the schools later this week, and we also were able to open our schools for our students thanks to the dedications and sacrifice put forth by the members of the public. However, with the prolonged COVID-19, there are people easing quarantine measures. However, before we have an effective therapeutic and vaccine against the virus, the COVID-19 cannot be terminated effectively, and we will have a prolonged outbreak going forward. So we ask you to tighten your quarantine measures even more, and please send your encouragement, and please support our students as they resume offline classes. Refrain from large group gatherings in enclosed and crowded spaces, and please abide by quarantine measures and strict hygiene measures going forward. And please remember that your dedications could lead to a healthy and safe environment for our students. Thank you very much.
That was a live briefing from the South Korean health authorities. You just heard that. We just heard that there were 35 new infection cases, bringing the total to 11,503. There was an additional death, making the death toll 271. Well, that wraps up our coverage of this morning's briefing. Thank you for staying with us, and we'll be back shortly with our regular newscast at 12 p.m. Korea time. Bye for now.